It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and piercer answer some of the more common questions that people that, or some of the more common questions that people that collect tattoos and piercings may have. Brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. The crew today is the Motley Crew, the Wrecking Crew, the Regular Crew, the Crew, the Crews, the Full Crew. Starting over to my right, your left, is Jimmy St. John.
What's up, guys?
Tattoo artist at Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Directly to my right, and on your left side, is Jack Lowe of Skin Kitchen Tattoo, tattoo artist and owner. I'm DaVo. I do body piercing and own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. And then directly over to my left is Brent Starr, tattoo artist at Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Today we're going to be answering some questions that our faithful counterperson and Jimmy's better half and the big boss,
executive producer over there.
Yes, came up with off of Reddit, correctly?
Yes.
Okay, you got to talk into the mic.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Yay, there she is.
Okay. You guys want to start with piercing questions or tattoo?
I'm either or.
Doesn't matter to me.
Dealer's choice.
Yep,
I'm thinking.
have
Yeah, I was going to say I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 5, but that wouldn't really get us anywhere.
No.
No.
I'll just be quiet.
You're in charge over there, producer.
All right. Well, we'll start with a piercing question.
Okay,
And this is from Reddit.
from Reddit.
I've read horror stories about piercings gone wrong. How can I know a piercing parlor isn't shady?
Oh Lord, it's a hard one.
Is it?
It is to a degree because it's easy to just, and a lot of states aren't regulated, so it's easy just to put up a shingle and say, I know how to do this. A couple of things you want to look for. First off is visit the actual studio, and the same thing goes for tattooing. Visit, is there pride of ownership? Is the place look clean? Does it look like it's a, kind of thrown together?
Check out their portfolios. People
Look at photos. Research them online. Check out the reviews, both the negative and positive, and take both with a grain of salt. Also, ask the person where they trained at, who they trained under, how long they've been piercing, etc., and then ask them about their jewelry. The more questions you ask, the harder it is for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing to answer quickly and correctly. If they start getting defensive about it, chances are is they don't know the answer to that question. Things like what types of material you use. Is it third-party verified, body compatible? Also, possibly where it's manufactured, who manufactures it, whether or not it's internally threaded jewelry or externally threaded. All these things will kind of point towards that.
All right. All right. Tattoo question.
Okay.
How do tattoo artists practice when they're just starting out?
There's a lot of different ways. I've heard all kinds of crazy shit. Everything from like parts of pigs.
Yeah, you can do fatback. You can do honeydew melons.
Yeah, I used oranges and
Your own
pig
legs
ears.
and stuff that you can reach. Yeah.
Various
Hopefully, if you're
fruits.
starting out on paper at first, because you don't just start out tattooing,
Yeah.
right off the bat.
The best way is just to find somebody, find somebody who knows what they're doing and have them willing to teach you,
Yeah.
and they'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, because that actually, to until you get to the point to actually starting putting a tattoo down, whether it's on synthetic skin or pig skin or whatever, melons, there's quite a few steps in the stage of learning how to tattoo before you get to that point.
Yeah.
Like that's like chapter 5, and you haven't even opened the book or found the book yet.
Yeah, I think it's coming from I'm going to assume it's coming from a point of curiosity,
Oh yeah.
not on what should I do.
Okay.
And yeah, because I get that every now and then when people are sitting in the chair,
That makes sense.
because it is kind of how do you practice? Because you're
Well, you're
it's
here.
permanent.
Yeah.
and part of what I tell them is there's always someone willing to get a free tattoo, no matter how bad it is guaranteed to come out.
True.
There's always someone willing to get a free tattoo. So there's never a shortage of people to practice on, but for your own ethical, ability to sleep, it's better to scribble around on something that kind of simulates skin. What we just heard, like a hard boiled egg.
Yeah.
I'd
that was
never
a new one to me.
I'd never done that, but it kind of makes sense. But you would need to kind of do it to understand why, really.
Yeah. And if you practice on something other than a human, you're less likely to cross-contaminate or spread a disease or catch a disease.
Because there's a whole other side to it as far as that's concerned. So, and really, all you're learning when you're tattooing something synthetic is just the feel of how to hold the machine, how to balance the machine in your hand, pressure to apply it, and there's a whole other side of overworking and how to approach the skin and how to stretch the skin that you can't learn on a piece of fruit or a pig or anything. So it's kind of in a way, it's kind of a small part of tattooing, or at least a big part of a thing that has a lot of big parts.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. You haven't decided what kind of machine you're using, traditional, rotary, all this.
What type of work you're doing is, depends on how you set up your machine, what style of machine you'll use. Yep. There's so many
factors.
It's a hard question to answer, not knowing exactly how much knowledge the person has who's asking, because you'd have to answer it with the proper terminology that kind of person's going to understand.
Right.
So,
they do sell like synthetic skin for tattoo.
Yeah, they're getting
better with
it. They've
But
got some plastics. I've heard of leather. That was another one. But
it's expensive, though, is the problem with those synthetics. And I understand why, because I've done some mold making and used silicones and stuff. It's expensive, dude.
Yeah.
Like just a gallon, each of the mixed, so it'll make 2 gallons of, which you go through pretty quick because you use it a lot of times for mold making and you use a lot of it at a time. It can be a couple $100 for decent stuff.
How much was that arm, that synthetic arm that you had?
I bought that at a convention forever ago, and this was forever ago dollars, and it was on sale, like a crazy sale, and I think I paid $150.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because they're like $500.
Yeah, they've got a couple different designs, but the arms I think are close to 300 or something. Wow. So it's hard to. It took me like 15 years to finally tattoo it. Because I'm like, well, I don't want to waste it. It was expensive, So, I would go grab, some grapefruits, kind of get just, because all you're doing is getting the feel. Yeah, and you can really do the same thing. The old trick back in the day was when a lot of people still do use coils, but they put a pencil or a marker or a pen in a machine as the tube and just draw with it. We used
to put the grips on the pencil and put the pencil through like it was the needle bar.
Yeah,
and practice drawing with the weight.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, shit, everything.
Yeah.
I when there wasn't a human body in front of me, I was tattooing either myself or a piece of fruit.
Yep.
But honestly, I did very little on fruit. I remember I started off just hand poking people with a frickin' sewing needle, and so when I finally got my shit in the mail, it's not like I was gonna draw on fruit for a week or 2 or 3.
No.
I was frickin' tattooing. So I did literally. I set up the machine the best I knew how. Then there was no internet, so there was no knowledge, and it was still a very, very closed off industry. It hadn't broken out.
There wasn't a lot of knowledge of it.
So I was just kind of on my own and what I could learn out of Rock and Roll magazine.
Yeah. Even during my apprenticeship, I think I only tattooed 3-4 melons and maybe 3 or 4 pieces of fatback, and then
yep. I literally drew like 3 or 4 lines after I set it up just to see if it would make a mark on something, and then there was a buddy right there ready to go because he knew I was getting my stuff that day.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a long process, but it's a small part or, a big part of a lot of big parts, like I was saying.
Yeah.
So, there's tons of ways. All you're doing is trying to get used to this awkward thing in your hand and make beautiful flowing artwork with it.
Yep. Smooth curved lines.
Motor skills.
It's getting muscle memory, telling your arm and your hand and your wrist, your shoulder and your elbow, what they need to do it successfully.
Once you get the basics down, then you broaden it, shading and coloring and blah, 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 blah.
So it's, all you're doing is learning that mechanic. And like I said, there's 100 different things, elements.
So many.
And when it comes to the victims, the only thing is really talk to them about where the placement of that tattoo is and make them completely understand that you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Put it somewhere it's easier to cover up later on.
Yeah, don't be, I mean... you'd have to be a pretty lonely person, and maybe. Well, let me take that back. Maybe I only know how it worked for me, and maybe I just. I mean, in my mind, I didn't have a ton of friends, but I always seemed to have one when I had a tattoo to give. So, don't be unethical about it and try to coax people. Oh yeah, I'm badass. Look at this. Unless you are. Yeah. And if you are, you wouldn't have to beg people to have you tattooed.
Yeah, but at the same time, don't the guy comes in and says he wants a peanut on his next to his eye. Don't do that.
I mean, I get it. You want a tattoo, and you're almost kind of not completely sane about it. When you want something really bad, you'll do about anything, but you really do have to stop and remember that one of those many elements is keeping you safe and more importantly the client safe. And and you live in an incredible world now where you can buy stuff in a pop package. You don't even have to have a sterilizer.
Yeah.
Back when I started, you needed $1,000, $2,000 piece of equipment to do it ethically.
And I think that's maybe piercing I think even has like a much much more expensive startup now.
Well, yeah.
Did.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, you've surpassed us now.
So I mean,
new stuff.
But even though you do, it's single use, I haven't used this on anybody, there's still a way to handle those things. Yeah. There's still a way to touch things, approach things, an order in which to do things so you don't cross-contaminate stuff. So, there's only so far you can get on your own. And but with the internet now and all that, I mean,
it's further than you used to be able to.
Yeah,
man. When we started, you had to make your own needles because you couldn't buy a pre-made needle.
True. Yeah, that you could only buy them, and literally, it was the weirdest thing. You'd buy needles from a tattoo company, and they were just like a sewing needle. They just didn't have an eye on them, and literally, it was wrapped up in paper, like you're buying heroin or something. Like it was this folded piece of brown paper that came inside, wrapped in another piece of paper.
You had to count them
and
out.
When you open that paper, if the paper crinkled or popped, you'd have
needles
everywhere. And you literally had to get a razor blade and count out, okay, I'm going to make a 5-liner. You'd have to count out each needle, group them up, put them in a... I mean, it was...
Put it in a jig,
so there's
crap.
And it's night and frickin' day.
Oh, yeah.
So different. Than it was. So, that makes me think when people ask me, well, how do you get into, I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Right. In this climate, how things work. And
I remember when we went from flats to mags.
Yep.
And that was almost kind of by accident. Somebody learned you could weave it with a razor blade or take hemostats and clamp them and it would spread them and make a mag. Wow. No longer just a flat row of needles.
What did that have to do?
I was just saying, I just flashed back of thinking about all that stuff when we started.
Right.
And back on the contamination thing, the other thing you really have to be concerned about, especially if you're not in a studio, is how you dispose of that thing after you use it.
Well, how you set up.
And who is going to have contact with it. Exactly. Because if you live in an apartment building and you just throw it in the dumpster, there might be the guy that cans that gets digging in there.
Dumpster Dan's going to get
There's a lot of things that people don't really consider.
And that's why there's laws on to dictate how you take care of such materials. And unless you are getting taught what to do by an ethical person, you're not going to know that, and you're going to fuck up. And you're probably not going to mean to.
No, but it happens.
But there are some intricacies involved with the industry.
You don't want to set up and tattoo in your living room with carpet floors and
You can tell your local hospital too. Like if you're dead set on tattooing, and tell them you're tattooing out of your house, they'll give you a sharps container usually for free to dispose of those sharps.
And sign up and take a.
They don't want those floating around, just as much as anybody else does. So
and sign up and get yourself a bloodborne pathogen test online or whatever.
You know what?
Educate yourself.
I was just thinking it's not very expensive, but go on that website.
Yeah.
If it's on screen now, it's right here. But yeah, taking that test would be great. It would be a good start. It gives you kind of the overall idea of how you
It makes you aware
you
of
can touch the OJ glove and then touch the OJ doorknob, even though it doesn't look like you did when it gets down to the micro, and that's what gets you sick. And
that's usually one of the first things I tell people when they're like, I want to get into piercing or I want to get into tattooing. It's like, get the education stuff knocked down.
Yeah.
And then one of those things is take an online course on pathogens. Also, a good idea is to maybe take some first aid,
CPR, and bloodborne pathogens.
Exactly, and just get kind of some basic knowledge there going.
Yeah. It's because
you'll use it the rest of your life.
Once you get started, you got to redo it every year as long as you're doing it.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things that's a hassle, but it
Have to have
just needs to
And
be
one of
done.
the-
It's good knowledge to have.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because it'll
Absolutely.
also keep you from getting sick because you start becoming conscious of
Yeah.
touching things.
Or
Yeah.
making other people sick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like knowledge that everyone should know.
Yeah.
You know, in a way.
Yeah.
But there's so many things to know that you have to whittle it down, and then you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
got to figure out the other, you know. But yeah, it would do you good, and it would show that you people that you're working on that. Hey,
You're making an
yeah,
effort.
he just jacked the shit out of my tattoo, but he didn't mean it because he really wants to do well
Right.
because
Yeah.
he's taking these steps and trying to do it right. So it gives you a little bit of legitimacy and gives you that little more relaxation because you're not jiving this person and lying to them to get them in that position. So you got to hold this face. You're starting out, you're trying, but
I'd be more impressed if somebody came to me looking for an apprenticeship and they had already done their bloodborne pathogen
oh man,
and first aid. Like that's a real
yeah.
initiative.
That
Yeah.
was one
You know,
of
I
the
mean, you've
reasons-
already started on the steps of educating yourself
Yep.
on stuff that you can take into your own hands without needing me to hold your hand.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
that was
Before you
taken
get
into
to
account when Shannon came and
Yeah.
talked to me about her apprenticeship. We talked about that, and she'd already done all that stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
Yeah, most kids
That's
back in
one
the day would
step I
show up
don't
like a handful of drawings they had sketched. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
cool, but there's a lot more stuff
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
okay.
to do.
Let's move on to another question.
All right, Davo's turn.
Oh, great.
Duck, duck, Davo.
Should I be pierced with a gun or a needle?
Now, here's the deal. Piercing devices were designed specifically for one reason and one purpose, and that was doing earlobes. They were never designed to be pierced anywhere else on the body. In fact, it is molded in plastic on the side of it for earlobes only. So that, first off, now is it safe? It's gotten safer than it used to be, but you have to also keep in mind that the person that's operating it does not really have any of the training we were just talking about. In most cases, they'll watch like maybe a 20 or 30-minute video, and then they may have somebody that comes in and talks to them about it from the manufacturer, and the manufacturer is going to tell them things like, I know it says that on the side of the gun, but you can use it on noses, you can use it on tracheases, you can use it on, and which is total misinformation. The other problem with that type of thing is that usually the material that the jewelry is made out of is such a substandard material that most people are going to be allergic to it, or it's plated with something that might be biocompatible. And then once it flakes off, not only do you have that peeling effect where you have little chunks of stainless steel floating around inside the piercing, but the undercoating usually isn't body friendly. So
I've never seen them be able to autoclave those little plastic machines either.
they come now. Well, yeah, the machine itself cannot be autoclaved. It cannot be sterilized. Usually between usages, they'll
Right.
wipe it off with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or
Yeah,
hard
that doesn't
surface
kill
cleaner.
anything, but that's cool.
Doesn't really do much, but
Nope.
spread it all over the place. The actual thing they've improved is the cartridge, which actually comes in contact
okay.
with everything, is
Well, that's
sterile.
better.
They come with rubbers now.
Yeah, basically. The problem is unless you've been properly trained on how to handle that cartridge with opening it
Exactly.
and putting
Yeah.
it in.
Once it's contaminated and you grab it with your glove and take it out and put a brand new one in it, that one's already contaminated too because you touched it.
Exactly. And usually these are improperly stored. They're stored in like tubs and stuff with a bunch
Yeah,
of
set
other
on a counter.
stuff. They're stored right next to. Basically, be the equivalent of you guys taking one of your cartridges and then setting it back down into the box of the cartridges and then
Yeah.
pulling out like a razor blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the deal, though. There's a bunch of stuff with this. The other thing is the actual act of doing the piercing. Basically, you're taking a semi-sharp object about as sharp as a thumbtack and shoving it through your body at a high rate of speed. That creates a lot more trauma than a hypodermic needle with a lance tip slowly cutting through the area. Not necessarily slowly, but more efficiently, and creating less trauma. So you're going to have less swelling, you're going to have less issues. And then it just comes down to just the material that stuff's made out of more than anything else. And that there's not a difference in the size. It's one size fits all.
If you've ever seen Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
there's a scene in there where she educates you on all this.
And I've also done a video on this too.
Pulp Fiction or the piercing thing?
The piercing thing.
Oh yeah, that makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah. Pulp Fiction, I don't think that was like probably one.
So good.
I do believe that is the movie that introduced everybody to genital piercings that was outside of like mods, because I don't
Yeah.
to the general
The
public.
tongue,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, that's why you're unhappy. So make it
Check it
happen.
out.
All right.
Chop,
well,
chop.
here's a question about genital piercing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can my partner play with a nipple or genital piercing before it's fully healed?
No. You're playing with it, movement, abuse, any type of movement of the jewelry, any pressure on the area is creating trauma, which healing cells don't like. It's going to probably cause some reaction like excessive scarring in the worst case scenario. The other thing is you can possibly cause an infection. Now, I know part of what they're probably asking about is genital piercings in intercourse. Usually, if you use some type of protective barrier, that's not going to cause as many problems, but I really also would not sit there and mess with your fingers for a long period of time either.
All right. Well, here's a second part.
Okay, part 2.
Will a genital piercing hurt my partner's teeth during oral sex?
Could.
It could, possibly, depending on what you're doing. Yeah, it is a metal object, and it is in your mouth, and metal tends to be more resilient, I guess is a good way of putting it,
Do you think
than your dental.
Do you think there'd be a way to fashion maybe a football mouth guard
Possibly.
in such a way?
Another option, which I've had clients do with Prince Albert piercings, is just wear a condom while you're doing it because you don't have that ring knocking around and moving all over.
Yeah. Yep. Again, it.
I think Jack's on to something there. That's a
it could be a whole marketing thing.
Yeah.
And we could go down a dark rabbit hole with that
I have
one.
got so many designs popping into my head right now that I am dying to talk about. We need a different
3D
channel.
printer to
it's
do
gonna be a
it.
3D printer.
Oh, baby. Yeah, it's kind of a dangerous thing.
Yeah,
if you
with
think about it.
genital piercings during the healing process is always, if it hurts to do something, stop doing it immediately.
Here's another
Related question.
story. Yeah. How do guys put a condom on with frenum piercings, PAs, or cross piercings? Are
Very
they
careful.
even able to wear them?
Oh, yeah, of course. The biggest thing is you want to stay away from ribbed for her pleasure and really tight ones. Generally, what I suggest is large reservoir condoms, if you can find them. They have kind of a bigger
bulb.
reservoir. Yeah, bulb at the end.
Yeah.
And you kind of, probably the most uncomfortable out of all those piercings they mentioned, the PA at first, especially because you kind of have to kind of twist it to the side and kind of squeeze it in there. But yeah, it's fully possible. That's the thing that people have misconceptions about is this jewelry is high finish. There's no sharp edges, points, or etc. So it's not going to tear the condom. Now, of course, if you got like a spiked end, which I would not, I don't think anybody in their right mind would be like, oh yeah, put that inside me.
Well, yeah, it has to press against your flesh and wear comfortably against you. So they make them pretty, smooth.
Yeah,
Like a
mirror.
Like titty.
Like glass.
Smooth like titty.
That's right.
There we go.
We're giving you some editing to do. Man.
That's straight from Howard Hughes.
Got to keep you busy,
All right, we got a tattoo question.
All right.
Have you ever misspelled script and tattooed it on someone?
Oh, dude, I've misspelled things.
Oh yeah, I've had customers write because I get them to write it down.
No,
'Cause I'm not a great
it's
speller
been my
anyway.
fault before. I mean, shit. There's only two types of tattoo artists: ones that have misspelled shit and ones
The
that
ones that
will.
have gone to,
Yeah.
I
Everybody
mean,
does.
you're a human frickin' being. You're not a computer, and even them misspell stuff. I'm sure from time to time. I mean, it's bound to happen. You know, I've been doing it a long time. I've done thousands and thousands of words on people.
Same here.
I've misspelled some. A lot, no.
No.
I mean, given the amount of tattoos I've done, no, not at all. But it's bound to happen, and maybe, and it kind of maybe not to blame at all, but I'm just thinking of the things that contribute to it is working in a super high volume busy shop.
Yeah.
Where you barely are even looking at what you're doing. You're just looking on how you're going to get it done. It's a weird kind of thing, but you're looking at things as lines and shadows and colors, and you're almost not even stepping back and going, oh, that's cool.
Well, 9 times out of 10, when you're tattooing lettering, you're working from the back of it to the front of it.
Yeah.
And you're concentrating on each individual letter, not the word. I'm not reading the word. I'm going from the back to the front and checking each letter.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a different part of your mind that works when you normally write, and then when you tattoo, it's the other
it's
part of your
backwards.
brain
Yes,
is
totally.
working, and you're not visualizing that as a word.
Right. It's a shape. It's almost like mini tribal.
Yeah.
Is how I look at it. I look at it as like micro tribal.
Yeah, it's a shape.
So, you're looking at all the points and the levelness, making sure they all end at the same time and
smooth curvature and all that.
They're all the same thicknesses and thinnesses it's not a letter at that point. So if you don't take the time, and it doesn't take many times before you are like overly, oh my God, this isn't spelled right. This isn't spelled right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've several times I've stopped right before I was doing something I was a little unsure, took my gloves off, got on the internet and just made sure. Or I've asked Alexa, like, how do you spell this? And I'll ask her like twice,
Yep.
But if you don't take that time, it's
Easy
even if you do, there's going to be something either on the client side or your side. You're going to tattoo something that's going to make you instantly start sweating.
And
Absolutely.
one of the reasons why I think that you're always going to eventually misspell something is names.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
people come up with their own way they want to spell it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're doing it to for a loved one that's passed away or a child or what have you or something.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget a friend of mine, Dwayne Peters, kind of famous skateboarder, lead singer of the U.S. Bombs. He got his wife's name tattooed when he was in town, and he sent her a photo, and he's all like proud of it and everything, and she basically texted him back, "Yeah, you're divorced." I don't know who this Corey without an E is, but I'm going after that lady. And Corey was like 6'3", big woman. She was in Nashville Pussy. I don't know.
I remember.
I remember.
The original bass player.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the biggest point is look at the stencil when it's on you.
Yeah,
When we show it to you, double check it.
Take a photo. I mean, this day and age, you can take a damn photo, send it, and the person's going to respond to you within a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm depending on how the shop's set up and everything, sometimes you're not right there when the client is looking at it on their skin right before you get going and everything. But if I've done 100 words or whatever on people, I'd say maybe five out of those 100 say, oh yeah, let me make sure that that's spelled right. I mean, they just, which I get it. They trust us and everything, but never forget we're freaking human beings.
I always ask. I'm like, how's it look? Oh, good. Looks like right size. Yeah, cool. Is everything spelled right?
And I think I think what happens is like we kind of think that, oh, I'm sure they checked it because they're getting it. Yeah. And they look at us the same way going, oh, I'm sure they checked it. They don't want to fuck it up. So, it's kind of this weird thing where, no, we're not saying that you're stupid or we're stupid. We're freaking humans, There's a lot of emotions going on. There's a lot of other stuff on your mind, other than that. Yeah. So it is really worth taking the time to check because it sucks.
And usually stuff like that gets transcribed multiple times.
Right.
And during that, because it's got to go from the client to the artist, and then the artist writes it down. And then
we draw it.
That sets it how it needs to be, and that's where it starts becoming a shape more than just a word. Yeah. Just a quick story on exactly what you're at that point. I was doing a last name down the rib, so it was these big letters, big black, neat looking letters, and it needed to be bigger than a piece of paper. So I had to have two pieces of paper and keep putting them together to get it big enough, and I can't remember the name now, but it had two M's in the middle of the name, and that was kind of in the middle. So that's where I would have to put them together and make it up. So I end up getting it to size, end up getting it started, and I'm about halfway through, and his girlfriend had just gotten tattooed right before him, and she's kind of watching, and as I'm tattooing, she goes, "Oh fuck," and I go, "What?"
Something
and she
you
goes,
don't want to hear.
She goes, "Oh. No, nothing. I'm sorry." And I'm like, you can't. I'm looking at her like, you can't just do that.
No.
And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go back to tattoo and she goes, no. Oh, fuck. And what I had done is the two M's that I was using, I ended up having an M, part of an M, and then a part of an M and an M.
Oh, God.
So when I lined it up, I ended up with three freaking M's.
Oh, no.
Black, big M's.
Oh, man.
Yeah, on the guy's ribs. So
You like M&Ms?
like I said, there's a lot of moving parts going on. Your brains are at a lot of different spots other than is it spelled right? Although that should be a big part, but you know, things.
It should feel well. You know, you got an extra M.
Yeah, yeah.
those
You know
M's
what,
can be
dude?
expensive.
I'm not even going to charge you for that M.
And that's three
That was
people
free.
that.
Yeah, I just
looked
gave
at
it to him
that,
for free
and,
because you know.
Yeah, and it took that long to catch it. Like I said, in the street
Right.
shop, I used to have on the release form, if you wanted a name or a phrase, it had where you had to print out what you wanted, and I would take that piece of paper and go directly off your stuff. And I don't know how many times I have people come out and go, "Oh man, like this ain't how you spell their name," and I'm like,
You can always
"That's
go
how
back
you
to
spelled
that
it."
paper.
And they're like, "Yeah, I spelled it wrong." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, so
That happened in Sturgis one time.
oh yeah, all the time."
And it was so weird because we were talking about that like the day that the guy ended up coming in or the day before or something. And we were talking about misspelling things and stuff. And he goes, that, you know, I always have the client write it down and I always keep that paper. So if they come back, I can go that, you know, hey, I did it the same way as paper. No crap. That day or the next day, guy comes in, hey, this is what I want, does it, guy keeps the paper. Next day, guy comes marching in there with an attitude. Now, keep in mind it's Sturgis, so everybody thinks they're a little bit more tougher than they really are. So anyway, he comes in with like 3 or 4 of his buddies in their tank tops and their, you know, glistening muscles and ready to, you know, do the classic, oh, I kicked his ass because he misspelled, you know, Shalisa Qua on my name, on my arm. And he pulled out that paper and you saw the guy just,
Yep.
like, I have nothing. It was directly
Yeah,
my
you
fault.
misspelled it.
But at the same time, could the artist have gone, now, are you sure this is how it's spelled?
Right.
You know? So, you know, it's one of those frickin' things that can slip through if you let it.
Which comes back to one of the biggest principles of what body art in general and body modification is. It's collaborative effort.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Nobody's more responsible for things that go wrong.
Yeah.
than-
you're in Sturgis. It's written on the mountain right beside town, so everybody can see it in huge Hollywood letters.
Yeah.
And it's the most misspelled word in Sturgis.
Oh yeah, not just tattoos,
No,
which hey,
on everything.
but yeah, flyers, wall. I
Banners,
mean,
everything.
It's I've seen Sturgis misspelled so many different ways.
Probably not as many times as I've seen tattoo misspelled.
Well,
with
there's
one
a-
T.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's the thing too. But yeah. So if it's one of those things that
Yeah.
it's the biggest deal that you don't pay attention to sometimes.
Yeah, it just slips right through.
Yeah,
See,
it's
and I
weird.
wonder how many times people have written something into a program to get the font, and it auto-corrected.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Especially
With
now
names,
with that
yeah.
font thing that you can do that with.
Yeah. It's
All right, we're gonna do
So
one more.
second part to that question.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
How do you fix it if you make a mistake and you catch it in the moment?
You know, it's
Depends on the mistake.
yeah, like those M's on the side of the guy's ribs. The nature of how it ended up, I think what I did was I was coloring in the middle M, and I was about a quarter of the way through from the top down or down up, however I was getting at him. And so what I did was I moved the other letters up over maybe I was coloring in the third M, because there was a removal that had to be done. So anyway, long story short, I moved up the letters to where they should be. I had the guy go to a laser removal place, which I covered, and get it removed. And then we wrapped some smoky stuff around it and made it look like, you know, the smoke was kind of coming over the top where the removal.
Yeah.
Cool.
And and you know, it came out, you know, it looks cool. It really looks better this way. It sucks the way we got here, but I really like it even better than
Right.
if that wasn't
That
there.
whole
So
accident is the best.
That's awesome.
the best
Sometimes-
motivator.
right.
If it's small and something easier to change, you can do that. Or if it's a little bit more involved, you can cover it up.
Well, if you put an O, but it needs to be an I,
Yeah, you're done.
yeah,
Covering it up.
yeah, you're covering it up, hopefully with the same design and relocating it or
Yeah,
something.
if it's a C and it needs to be an E, you can fix that.
You can laser it.
Yeah, you don't want to try and do the O into the I
No.
just by okay.
No.
I'll just fill in
Yeah, it
the
ain't paper, you're
space
just
and
gonna
put a
write over
dot
it.
over
Unless
the
it's
top.
an I and supposed to be a T, which is
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah.
or
Or an
you
L.
know,
Yeah.
a K that should be an H.
Yeah.
Well, even that one's hard. An
That
H
one's
that
hard.
needs to be a K would be way easier. Just put your
Yeah,
top
and into it.
line on it. But
And see, I think one of the most common thing I've seen over the years is they forgot a letter, and then they try to
Try to
squeeze it in.
Not gonna happen.
Never ever never
looks right.
Nope.
No, ever.
Either
So
laser it, cover it up.
yeah, and I've got lettering and words on me too, but really at the end of the day, lettering and words is the least inspiring. Like it's like
Your Post-it note.
Yeah.
You should, if you want a word that says hope, get an image that portrays hope.
Yeah.
Pictures
And it's
worth
going to be
1,000
way
words.
more fun to look at and way more fun to wear. But, that's all perspective and everything else.
Totally.
So, but yeah.
Plus, it's going to start, if you have a tattoo that represents it, you're going to start a lot more interesting conversations with random strangers,
Yeah.
which may or not, may be a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, so get words if you don't like people.
Yeah, it's just like, here you go.
Well, then you got to stand
Instead
still
of-
when you go by there, like, hold on, I'm trying to read your words.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, hey, hold still. You keep moving around.
And that's the thing, too. It's not, no one's going to read it. There was this kick where people were getting like paragraphs of,
Gee, many.
all over them. And I get it. It's kind of a talisman to you. You're kind of carving that saying or that belief into your skin. And it's more than just how does it look. I get it. But at the same time, to everybody else, all it does is look
Like
one way or another,
Blend.
and
Remember
no
the
one's
dude I
going to
did the
read
whole
it.
song?
Wrapping shit, saying around your arm is the dumbest thing. I'm sorry, but it is.
Not even legible.
You can't read it. It destroys your whole arm. You have a bunch of empty space. Well, now what do I do? I mean, it's
cover it up.
don't do it.
Do you remember the whole song I did?
Arm bar just to read it,
Yeah, and then if someone does want to read it, you end up looking like an idiot in the bar, fucking twisting your arm all over the goddamn place.
Remember the guy I did the whole song?
Yeah,
Whole half of his front of his torso?
yeah.
I was like, we should just do the chorus, and everybody will get it and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. No, we're going to do the whole song. So we did. And like by halfway through it, he was like, you were totally right. I got this it looks like a page out of a book. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's not
Try to tell
fun.
you.
It's not fun.
You don't want
look
to stand
at.
there long enough for somebody to read it if it did.
Right.
Okay, why don't we take care of one more and then call it for this one? And then
I was going to say one more each.
one more each.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep your answers short.
What is this going to be?
We're just not short answer people.
All right. DaVo, can I
Okay.
tug or pull on a piercing without stretching it out?
Yes, because your body's going to always just go back to it. Weight. Now, if you have large gauge jewelry like I have in my ear, the weight will change how that piercing is shaped.
Well,
But just pulling on it,
gravity is pulling on it.
yeah. I mean, it's a consistent. It's not like yanking back and forth. I'm trying to imagine what this person's.
Don't
trying
you
to
believe
think
in
about.
gravity, Davo?
Yeah,
I guess
gravity
how long
does.
you pull on it and
does
how hard you
things.
pull on it,
I'm over 50. Gravity has had its way with me for most of my life.
You should have just You should have said no. I don't, and show it to me.
Gravity
Like
works.
prove it exists.
Yeah.
Gravity's still one of those things that.
I still fight it on a regular basis.
Oh yeah, yeah. My stomach doesn't. It wants to be on the floor, but
Yeah.
yeah. Other than that,
All right, tattoo guys.
Oh.
Grossest tattooing experience ever.
That's a broad
That's-
Think about
question.
that.
that's a whole question.
Yeah, that's
Can
a
I
thing.
answer the piercing version of that?
What was
Yeah.
the word used in the script?
Grossest.
Grossest.
Oh yeah, I knew it was a good one.
Various different collective type things in navels.
Take
I
a
will
bath.
leave that to
Like
everyone's
Pulling
imagination.
stuff out of it.
Dried
Oh,
things.
no.
That's why I'm leaving it to your imagination. Because
Yeah,
it's gonna be much
run
worse
wild.
than anything I have to say.
Take a
Yep,
bath or
yep.
shower before you come into
Yeah,
the
people
I
that
don't-
come
Clean your
in
damn
unclean
navel.
is horrible.
I don't appreciate being forced to have to think of all the gross things I've had to do in my career.
Yeah, you do.
You
That's
gonna go
mean.
through some post trauma.
I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh yeah, but no, there was the.
Yeah.
I remember one time in a street shop, we were right next to this like ghetto titty bar, and all the girls thought it was great to get these huge butterfly wings on their ass cheeks.
Yeah.
And like, oh, that's great. No, it's not, dude. I don't want to have my face 2 inches from your butt and butt crack,
Yeah.
especially if you haven't cleaned very well or taken a shower lately, and have to stare at it and be that close to it for the next, God knows how many hours.
Well-
and if you can't hold your flagellants, it makes it even better.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
there's all
Have
kinds
you
of
been
wonderful
farted
stuff.
on?
Yeah, I even had a guy pass out and crap himself one time.
Have
That
you
was
been farted
wonderful.
on?
Not more than I farted on people. No.
Have you ever been thrown up on?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
You have?
Yeah.
I've given several
Long time
trash
ago.
cans.
I've also been urinated on it while you swore.
Yeah, when people pass out.
Really?
Yeah, dude. When they pass out, they're not in control. That's how that dude crapped his pants.
Yeah.
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 Pissing is more prevalent, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, you can.
I'd be scared of throw up.
Dude, when they start vomiting, I give them a trash can. I'm like, here you go. If you get me on the floor, you're going to clean it up because I'm going to vomit.
Just tell us you're going to. It's easier to clean it up that way.
Yeah, give me a warning instead of trying to fight it and going, bleh.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
heroes, yeah, those are the worst. Just own it.
Yeah.
Own
Yeah.
it and go with it, man. We're going to help you through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me know and I can help you. If you spring it on me, we're both in trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
I'll
if
show you exactly where that bathroom is so that
Yeah.
full bladder doesn't end up on my chair.
If you
Yep.
start feeling not good, let us know, and that way
Yeah.
we can stop it, and
Yeah.
you don't pass out.
We've
or
all
puke.
shared. What about you, Brent?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been puked on.
Okay.
I
Lucky.
would say I've definitely got a little too close to some fart.
You comment on it too, don't you?
Closer than I would have liked at the time. But yeah, it was kind of one of those like, really? Did you just shit on me?
Well, sometimes you get people who's like been working out or worked really hard that day and they haven't been home to take a shower yet, and you're like, did he fart on me or does he just smell really
Right.
bad or like what is that smell?
You know, I was thinking, I think really, the smell is usually a part or the main thing that makes it gross because you are right on top of it. And hey, there's been times I've stank too. I mean, like Burgess, I've tattooed a lot there, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of showers. So,
Yeah. Nope.
But yeah, I think that's a part of it. A lot of times is you have a person that has a certain musk that just does not
Maybe
mix.
that's
None
maybe
of you
that was the
smell,
thinking
though.
your dad had behind putting a shower in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe
I know,
we should have
Dad,
that service.
Dad, that would be so great. But
That and somewhere outside for people to scrape their boots off.
But I'm here like 20 hours a day as it is. So if
Yeah.
there was a shower, then my dogs would end up
Never-
starving to
yeah.
death, and I'd be charged with, neglect.
Back in the day when people were getting their shoulder tattooed and they're trying to watch while you're tattooing and they haven't brushed their teeth or something, they're like, and I'm like, dude, you got to turn your head. If you breathe on my face one more time while I'm
know.
tattooing, I'm going to puke on you.
For me, a lot of times it's not the breath; it's the feel of your breath on my face.
Yeah, that's gross too. But like if it breath's bad, it's like double down.
Right, and I know it's like a dentist. There are times when we have to be right in your fucking face.
Yep.
And it's just the way two bodies have to fit together to get it done. But man, yeah, just get out of just stay out of it. Like you get to look at this literally until the day you die. I get a couple hours. Just give me the couple hours and you can have it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Whenever
yeah.
we take a break, you can take a look at it.
I have a gas mask. I've always meant to bring it in and hang it. So if you're doing a foot tattoo, you can just without saying anything, just reach over and put it on. But I haven't, but I'm surprised that I haven't.
Our buddy Tommy had a girl, somebody in Sturgis that took their boot off, and it was horrendous. They've been wearing that boot like all week,
Oh yeah.
and he was just like, ugh. And he comes over and we had this peppermint tincture soap, and he just doused him and put a rag over. I was like, we're gonna let that sit for a minute, and we'll be back. He was like, oh my god, I'm like, dude.
Right. Yeah, it's funny.
You get
So,
free.
ladies, get your nails done. Get a little petty. It gives you a good excuse to go get your petty done. And while
Women
you're
do
there,
that.
get your nannies or is it nanny?
Petty.
Yeah. So,
Mani-pedi.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mani pedis, yeah.
Yeah, because I will tease you if your toes aren't done, just out of fun. But yeah, keep that in mind because stinky sucks.
Hygiene is appreciated.
Hygiene is king.
I
Yeah.
don't think you realize when you're coming in to get tattooed how close you're going to be to somebody. It's not
No.
something that really
Right.
goes through your mind.
Yeah, you've got all these other things going through your head. Plus, you're gonna stink more likely because you are worried,
Nervous.
or you've got all that anxiety. So yeah, it is a thing, and we understand we're all human beings, but
Cleanliness.
like
is
I
next to
said, some
godliness.
people just have a certain musk that just stands
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
You guys are lucky. None of you smell.
Oh, thank you.
We
None
don't.
of
Thanks.
you smell, even after being here.
Yeah.
20 hours.
I'm glad to hear
It's
that.
because we clean and use deodorant.
Yeah.
We like
but
our clients.
none of you have that must smell.
No.
Like
Yeah.
that certain.
Yeah,
None
that
of
some
you-
people just
We
kind of
only
have
complain
that.
And I've been with both of you at Sturgis, and nobody showered, and none of y'all smell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean we've gone like a week or better.
Oh yeah, it's
What'd you do? Oh, we're installed in the sink.
it's almost just kind of a badge of honor. It's it's kind of like knowing that you could take a shower when you want, but it's like I don't have to.
What, like you're 12?
You just kind of start.
But when we started going, there wasn't a lot of showers available.
Right. Well,
Like
and there
when we
still
started
isn't
going.
necessarily,
Yeah.
depending on how and where you're staying. But yeah, it's almost just kind of like that's not important. I have things to do.
I get that.
And I don't have to smell good for any of them.
I got a certain amount of time to tattoo, drink beer, ride my motorcycle,
yeah.
and have a good time.
Right.
And shower doesn't really fall into that a lot. I only got like so many days to do it, and we got to get it knocked out.
Like
See,
if-
I'm afraid this whole conversation's adding a whole nother level of nervousness for clients because now they're going to have kind of that date. They've
Right,
all been on that
right.
date.
Oh my God, I'm gonna
It's like,
stink.
oh, okay, we're going to go have Mexican food. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, we're going to sit here and drink Guinness. And then the rest of the evening is all like, yeah, I don't know how I can get away from this person long enough to relieve a certain tension that's portraying down in my lower body.
well,
you have
the
Indian
funny
food
thing is if you're worried about whether you're going to smell or not, you're not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you're the kind of person that's kind of worried about it, you're
So
not going to
maybe
stink.
you're
It's
mindful
the
of it.
people that are like, I don't stink,
Yeah.
that are more likely that are going to stink.
Yeah, that's the guy that's been working on construction for like 12 hours and comes in and goes, I want my foot tattooed. It's been in his boot all day. Oh,
Yeah.
that's probably going to be bad. Oh, well.
I just came
Right.
from the pig farm and I
Yeah.
brought
But-
half of it in with me.
Awesome.
But honestly, with feet anyway, if it is a foot, then you're kind of lucky because
Yeah.
if it's just kind of an overall problem, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Because man, I got a bottle of alcohol, rubbing alcohol,
I can clean it.
and I'll just wash your foot for you.
That's the nice thing about, like when I do oral piercings, we always make them rinse beforehand. That
Yeah.
takes care of the breath. And also we use betadine, which that smell of betadine will
Overpowers
cover
everything.
up everything.
That's good point. Yeah.
Hibiclins too. 'Cause
All
they'll-
right, we got one question.
Oh, we're gonna
for
do one more.
Brent, personally.
For Brent.
Wow.
Okay.
It
This
was-
is
it
a
was for
packed
him.
episode.
It says, "Do clients ever cry while getting their tattoo?"
There's no crying and tattooing.
Sure. I mean, that's happened every so often, and for different reasons. Sometimes the tattoo might have like an emotional value. You had an experience or something, or it's for a loved one that passed away. So, just in the moment, sometimes it tugs on the heartstrings and people get, a little welled up in that sense. Not so much because of the pain.
I've made them laugh till they cry.
Yeah, there's that too.
So it's part of the grieving process.
So I think, but what the person is asking is anybody like crying like, ow, this hurts.
Yeah.
Does it hurt so bad that you cry?
Well, I can recall one time.
I like when they tell me, you don't know how this feels. Like you're getting a name on your wrist. Have you seen me?
Or they're trying to convince you that they're addictive, and I'm like, really? never
I'm
heard
afraid
that.
I'll end up getting more. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, there was one that was wailing pretty loudly. That was it was entertaining for a little bit. Jimmy had to leave the room.
Yeah, I had to excuse myself. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it does happen periodically. Just the big thing for us is like if that's gonna happen, just don't move.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, do whatever you want. Just be still when you do it.
Yeah, you
what
can
you
say
need to
obscenities as long as you're still.
yeah,
you remember
Cuss like a sailor.
You remember Ike?
I was
Devo.
just gonna say the same thing.
So-
He always got big giant screamers.
He and I don't know if it was just the luck of the draw or he was mean. He's not mean. He's awesome. Hi Ike. But anyway, he would. If somebody was yelling and screaming and crying in the shop, they were sitting in poor Ike's station, and it got to the point where, and it's terrible. This is like tattoo artist only kind of info usually, but fuck it. So he's tattooing this gal. Is kind of back when lower backs were popular, and so she's sitting there and she's hunched over, and he's tattooing away on her back, and she's just So Ike just starts mocking her as he's tattooing her, going, oh, 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 just screaming and I was in my station, which it was open, but the walls, we couldn't see each other, and I was
from my station
just laughing to my. I know I'm trying to tattoo, and then I'm. So some people tend to get more of them, maybe. I haven't had something like that happen in a long time.
Brent gets it a lot.
But back in the day I did, and and it's probably it might be the clientele and where you're at. If you're around a college area or something and you're doing a lot of little small, oh, I'm scared bangers. Yeah, you're probably going to get more of that.
And if they bring an audience, they act up a lot worse.
Exactly. They want to be the center of attention.
I need to hold both your hands right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if you're, working with people that have already been tattooed for hundreds of hours and you're working on a sleeve, for them, they're
champs.
They're not going to do that. So, yeah. But it can happen, but it's usually for other reasons other than it just straight up hurts so bad.
I piss and moan. I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm a whiner. I'm like,
Me
oh,
too.
God, it sucks.
I whine too.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, people set for me over twice as long as I'm willing to set.
Oh, yeah. I won't set that long.
Totally.
I look at these guys, the kind of guys and gals and everything in between. They come in and sit for you guys for like
The
8
whole day.
hours straight.
Yeah,
and
all
I'm just
day.
like,
Yeah.
I'd be going out of my mind right now.
I can't believe how often it happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe there's that many people that are willing and are able, to set and tolerate that for that long.
Yeah, because I don't
real
want to.
troopers.
It
Blows my
I
mind.
remember when I was like 20 and thought I was Billy Badass because I sat for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because we're in the profession we're in. If we weren't in this and we had to wait 6 months to get in to get a big piece,
That's
we'd be
true.
more willing to set for.
And that's true. And I'm not saying, and it's a blessing. It's great,
Yeah, I love it.
because being able to get all, if not all, a lot of your idea down, and you don't have to start and stop that song. It's like listening to a song that makes you feel a certain way, but listening to it in little chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can stay in the groove and appreciate and be all about that song. If you can listen to as much of it at a time, instead of waiting 2, 3, 4 weeks and then, okay, let's pick up that song. I don't have the groove. I don't really remember the tempo.
Yeah.
So so it's great thing to be able to do. I just can't believe there's that many people willing to do it.
I set a lot better before I learned how to tattoo. Like when I was a
me too.
customer, I set like a champ.
Me too.
Once I learned how to tattoo, and I guess realized what's going on, and I know what's
The
happening.
magic's gone.
It's way worse.
The magic's
Yeah,
done.
and I think it's one of those things. If there's very few oak trees and you see an oak tree, you're like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's pretty rad. But if everywhere is oak trees, it's not exciting
That's
anymore. There's the magic is gone.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
behind the curtain.
So you know exactly what's
Thanks,
going
Billy.
on, how it's being done, what needs to be done, what the sound of the machine is, whether it sounds like, man, he's running that shit a little hot, or it's a process. There's no magic
Right.
to it at all. It's just something you have to tolerate to get what you want. There's no magic
Nope.
left, but
Nope, you've pulled the curtain back. We know what Oz is.
Right, yeah.
He's an
It's
old
over.
man in a.
I
Yeah.
miss that magic feeling.
me too,
Well,
man.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so do
Tattoo
I.
bro.
shop and just being excited.
Yeah,
Yep.
but now I get to be excited on the other side of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So it's great that I've gotten to experience both sides where
Right.
most people haven't.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate.
Yeah.
Likewise.
All right, can we go now?
Right, we can
All right. You've been watching and listening to, or doing both, Q&A in the Kitchen. We post these basically every 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up and let us know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe either where you're listening or where you're watching. And check out our merch store. Link is in the description. Till next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we would all love to see you for your tattooing and body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Be good to each other, guys.